Now let's
Absolutely.
welcome our next speaker, Miss Jenna Cherasard, also from Sister to Sister International, and she's going to talk about inequality in health as a Generation Z medical student. You have the floor, and please let's keep to time so that we'll give other speakers the opportunity to present, and then we have our Q&A. You
Yeah.
can unmute yourself.
Yes. Hello,
Okay.
everyone. Thank you for inviting me here today and allowing me to present in front of all of you today. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. Okay. And it's great that Sayadana brought up mentorship because that is something that I wanted to also talk about today as a Generation Z medical student. So I'm just going to share my screen and then we'll get started. Okay. So hello, my name is Jenna Cherasard, and I'm a first-year medical student at the Sophie Davis School of Biomedical Education, which is a 7-year BSMD program, and it's affiliated with the City University of New York School of Medicine. And I am also part of the Sister Sister International Gen YZ Ambassadors Group, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But today I wanted to talk about the path to addressing health inequities, because nobody gets there by themselves. And I wanted to talk about what kind of community that you need in order to be able to grow up into the position where you do have this leadership role and can address health inequities as a Black woman. So first of all, background, where we've been. So I've had a very early beginning within the STEAM field. At the Sister Sister International, I was a part of the STEAM Academy. And as a result, I had early exposure, mentorship, and networking experiences. They also empowered me to be able to know that I could join the STEAM field. One story that I wanted to bring up was that in 5th grade, actually, I had won first place at the 5th grade science fair, and I didn't really think it was important in terms of, I didn't think that, I was good in science at first, but then when I went to Sister Sister International, they actually provided me with a certificate of appreciation and achievement and allowed me to present my work. And that increased my self-efficacy as well as empowered me to be able to know that I could do STEAM. And that's just the kind of impact that Sister Sister has on people. And they also allowed me to visit the UN, and that was very impactful for me. I'm sorry. So that was very impactful for me because that allowed me to be able to visit the UN and also allowed me to be able to learn about global health issues. Okay. And as I was learning about global health issues, that gave me the inspiration to move into medicine, because when we went to the UN, we learned about the Millennium Development Goals. And one of those goals was to improve maternal health. And that has been always very important to me and instrumental in my decision to pursue medicine. And one of the reasons why we went into improving maternal health was towards the Mama Kits initiative. And the Mama Kits initiative was basically surrounding the idea that we were going to send kits filled with sterile medical supplies to lower middle income countries so that women would be able to have access to these supplies when they don't have access to the needed medical necessities that they need in order to have a safe delivery. And that was very impactful for me in order to know that that's what I wanted to go into. Okay, so where are we going? What are we doing now that we've had that great development and foundation, and where are we going as a medical student now? So in my school, we have a program known as the Narrative Medicine program, and that is surrounding the idea of moving from cultural competency towards cultural humility. And this is very important to me because I want to be able to formulate a great patient-doctor relationship in my practice, and I would like to also increase that trust within the medical community, especially for Black and Brown people. So narrative medicine, for those of you that don't know, surrounds the idea of the ability to acknowledge, absorb, and interpret and act on the stories and plights of others. And this is important because it was found that healthcare workers, specifically physicians, were not really listening to the stories behind what their patients were saying. They were just trying to treat the disease and not actually listen to the patient. And that leads to implicit bias and the health inequities that we see between Black and Brown people and their white counterparts. So narrative medicine in general, its main goal is to address the systems of oppression and internalized racism that obstruct people of color from getting the best care possible. And the way in which we do this is that I actually just had a session yesterday with a bunch of medical students and also a few physician professors, and we were able to talk about a story surrounding a patient's disease, and we were able to talk about the underlying tones of what was being brought up by that story, and we were able to talk about what you can interpret from that story and what questions you would ask to follow up and delve deeper and thicken the narrative. So overall, for the action items for this implementation, I have a plan to continue to implement narrative medicine in medical education across the country so that we can overall increase the amount of the relationship between doctors and their patients, and hopefully build that trust between communities that have been systematically oppressed and have been underserved by the medical community. Also, this includes mentorship of younger students in narrative medicine principles. And we're going back to that idea of mentorship because mentorship is very important to building the next generation. And that's a topic, a main theme that I wanted to focus on today. Building the next generation of people that are going to be able to impact the world, just as Sister to Sister has done through the STEAM Academy. Okay. Lastly, advocacy. We started with Sister to Sister, so we're going to end with Sister to Sister. Okay. So one of the ways that we have done this with Sister to Sister by addressing health disparities is through the STSI Health and Wellness team. And I'm a part of that team. And currently we're trying to focus on maternal health and in terms of increasing awareness and advocacy for preeclampsia and also developing a preeclampsia awareness campaign. And this is really inspiring for me. And it is interesting for me in particular, because as you know, I am interested in maternal health, and that is one of the areas that I want to work on. So being able to be formulated by Sister to Sister, and then being able to give back to them now as a person that's going into professional school and hopefully becoming a professional one day, that is very important to me, that I give back to the same organization that lifted me up. And I do that also by being a member of the Gen YZ ambassadors, in which we mentor younger students within the STEAM Academy, and we continue to stay connected with fellow ambassadors so that we build that system of support and that system of camaraderie, and that helps overall to allow us to go through this professional education process. Because as you know, many people within these institutions of education don't look like us. So it's important that we have that foundation of people of color that are there to support us and surround us with love and support when we need it. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about is our call to action. How do we get there? How do we get more women in public life? And how do we get equal participation in decision making? And the way that we do this, you guessed it, through mentorship. So I'm glad that Sayadana talked about this before, and I just want to put a pretty little bow on it after she gave us the whole meal. So mentorship in general helps someone to surround themselves with someone who is dedicated to building their growth and development. And I had that with Sister to Sister. I was exposed to mentors that were able to help me grow and develop into the person that I am today. So if we increase the amount of mentorship, especially among young Black girls, then that will help to increase the number of Black girls that get into these positions of power, and they're in the room where the decisions are made. So then as a result, we'll be able to defeat these health inequities that are very prevalent within our society. It also helps young women of color to navigate the educational and professional institutions, because there are not many resources for us. I mean, I remember in high school when I was talking about that I was going to apply to the 7-year BSMD program, my counselor was basically like, well, you don't really know if you want to do medicine, and, you don't really have anyone to tell you, like, if you really want to do it, you don't really have any experiences. And if I had listened to her, I wouldn't be where I am today. So we need people in those positions to tell us that we are capable and show us that we are able to reach those positions of power. Okay. And then lastly, for mentorship, a person that is a mentor can act as a sounding board for a young person, because, as a young person, you're kind of a little bit insecure about going into this position where many people don't look like you. So if you have a mentor that looks like you and is able to hear your passions, your fears, your long-term goals, it can help you to overall formulate your idea of what you want to do with your life. And also lastly, but one of the most important things, that mentorship allows for professional networking and relationship building. And that's one of the most important things that even I'm learning now within the professional world. Having that network and those relationships, they help you to learn about potential jobs, positions, they help you learn about research. It's all connected. And being able to formulate those mentorship relationships is very important. And I think the problem is that many people believe that they can't be a mentor or that they don't have enough experience. Believe me, anyone can be a mentor if you have lived life and you are in a position where you can train someone to be where you are. Okay. Okay. So, lastly, for my call to action to everyone. So, everyone, I want by the end of this year to find one young woman of color below 30 years of age and give them the mentorship or experiences that you wish you had when you were first growing into your professional life. Because by building up the next generation, you are helping the world. You don't have to do everything yourself. You can actually build people up, and then you will have a large impact on the world that you don't even know that you can do. Okay. And thank you all for listening to my presentation. I appreciate the opportunity and I yield my floor.